Hello and welcome back to, I believe we're on part 6 of the Inception movie review. Um, this has been in depth, I know, because I've been doing such in-depth breakdown of what you were actually seeing happen in this film. So some of y'all, if you were looking at this and you was thinking, I can't watch the movie now because you didn't the way I done told it, you probably still could still watch the movie and not feel like you missed anything. Meaning, uh, the way I have given you this review, I have left so many open spaces for me to explain that you haven't really been able to get a true gist of the fullness of the sequential storyline of the film. You just got to watch it, okay? Because I'm going to keep breaking in here to explain what you seeing spiritually, because that's what we're here to do. I ain't here just a movie review for you. I'm here to give you the spiritual knowledge so that you know how to fight in your own dreams. Okay? I'm not new to this. I'm true to this. I've been doing this for a couple years. Okay? All right. Are you ready? Let's get back into it. So, let's see. I was about to tell you before I got cut off in the last video that level 3 is a folding of time, which is 10 hours, okay? And it's folded to make now the 6 months from level 2, which was 24 weeks, turn into, let's see, 520 weeks. Which adds up to 10 years. Mm-hmm. So that's how long they're going in for. They've given themselves a lot of time. That's why they needed to give themselves the time so that they would have the ability to pull out at the right time. There's going to be a point that the first level creates that will be able to pull them back to level, what is it? Pull them back to level 1 so that they can come to alertness to wake up within that 10-hour period, okay? If they accomplish their goal at the appropriate time. That's why they needed the chemist, because the chemist was going to be able to wake them up. And he's necessary at level 1 more than he is at any other level, okay? So, they are testing this. They're testing certain levels. They're testing what they need in the case something goes wrong. They're like, well, how are you going to wake them up? A kick. God showed me this in a dream a few days ago that kind of led me to watch this film anyway. I dreamt and I couldn't understand why something specifically happened, which caused me to kick in the dream. And I understood every part of the dream, but I could not understand the kick until I woke up and I was like, oh, after I wrote down everything that the Lord was giving me revelation on, he showed me the kick came from this film. a kick is what's necessary in order for them to wake up. Remember in the first dream that they did the extraction from, the kick was Leonardo DiCaprio's character falling back into the water to wake him up. It was a jolt of the falling feeling. And then using something as a cushion, meaning the water, was something that would definitely startle him awake. You know, when you pour water on somebody when they sleep, they'll wake up. So they were going through tests to jolt the person awake. They used Arthur. They gave him a sedative and had him sleeping for a period. And then they would do something like kick the chair that was underneath him and he'd start to tip over. The second he started to tip over, just like a person normally, if you're sleeping in a chair and your chair starts to tip over, what happens? You wake up. They kicked the chair over to jolt him awake, and then I think they pushed something and knocked him in the floor. All these kinds of things to make sure that they could be woken up. But they need somebody to wake them up, okay? So they'd pretty much determined what they were going to do and how the kick would feel. So they would be able to feel the kick. The sedative was engineered as soon as the recipient of the kick falls and or tips over, they will wake up. But the kick has to be strong enough because of how they were doing what they were doing in the dream realm. They needed to be able to wake themselves through 3 layers deep, meaning a week, 6 months, 10-year position. However deep they were going to need to wake themselves up. And they needed to streamline that to time it out that align, remember the loop that was shown in the very beginning when he was teaching Anastasia. It was a loop, a curved loop that a line had to go through. They have to create a line in this loop, okay, of creation that is going to go through all 3 levels of the dream in order to, 1, pull them all from whichever level they're on back up. If they're on 3, they got to come up through 2 back to their first level of consciousness in level 1 of the dream to be pulled out, which is dangerous. But they had to create it to be deep enough to create a scenario of how they would connect and link. Remember in the first dream, there was an audible tell. They used music that whenever they heard the music, they knew, oh, now's about that time. We got to get ready to get out of here. We got to make sure we're all together so that we can all be pulled at the same time. Okay? So, they're set up. They will have to incept him at a major appointment at the airport. So they would need to do something that he would be able to sleep conveniently during a flight from Sydney to London, which is exactly 10 hours. And he usually travels on a private plane. He takes this flight every 2 weeks. Mr. Sato, this Asian man, he's like, this man is like your angel. when it comes down to uh you needing something. It's like, oh, well, we don't know when. It's like, oh, I own the airport. I can make sure he's on the flight. I just buy the airport because I got it like that. Pause. Let me just say this to y'all. The ones y'all God's been talking to. Some of y'all got to have that kind of faith that you will pray that God will send deliverers into your life, send people into your life that are going to bless you and favor you as such. They got the money, they just pay for it. Oh, you need an airport? I'll buy the airport. You trying to get something taken care of. It's like, I need to make sure that I'm on a plane. I'll buy the airport. Don't worry about that. Authority. You got to realize that's the kind of authority God got. Oh, you got a problem? I will buy that thing out for you to make sure that that thing is taken care of. That's that God authority. Okay. I'm just throwing that in there. But in this case, it kind of would be the way that the enemy works, because he's trying to control every point in which would prevent anything from screwing up the plans in order to incept this man's brain. So, he pretty much bought the airport, and they were able to schedule the fight. So, Anastasia, who is curious, okay? She's just simply curious. She sees that Cobb is in his workshop and he's sleeping. For the first time, she goes to check on him and he's by himself. The first time she went to do this, he was sleeping and the chemist was sitting in the chair next to him. But this time, he was not. He's alone, so she decides, since they've been hooking themselves up to each other and checking each other's dreams anyway, she said, let me just hook myself up and see what's going on with this man, because I really need to know what in the world is actually going on with this man. What's really the business with this situation? So she goes and attaches herself to him. She finds that she's now on an elevator. Pause. Elevators, when you see them in dreams, they can mean elevation or descent. What does elevator mean naturally? Elevation or descent. You are either going to a higher spiritual place, or you are going backwards or down. You never want to go down. You don't want to go down steps when you're in a dream. You don't want to go down in any way. That means that you are being delayed. You are going in the wrong direction. And you most definitely don't want to slip, fall, or trip down steps. That means 9 times out of 10, that is an act of the enemy. Anytime you are tripping and falling down anywhere, that's an of the enemy. It's not a God. But if you find that you're walking up steps or going up an elevator, you are ascending to higher spiritual elevations. I just wanted to preface that before we dig deeper into this dream. So, Anastasia is now in the elevator. And she goes and presses the button down. This elevator has, in all actuality, I think it was 14 to 15 floors because there was a basement level and there may have been an attic level. Okay? But she hits down. She randomly goes down. I don't remember whether she hit the 5th floor or what floor she was on, but she just hits down. When she hits down on it, she goes to the floor that he's on, finds him in the dream realm talking to Maul. Remember, this is his wife, right? And she's asking about the children and all of this kind of stuff, and they're having a conversation about something. Now, he knows that Maul is not very willing to have any female in the dream realm. Pause. To some of y'all, this is where we go kingdom spouse level. Some of y'all, you can look at this dually, okay? Some of y'all are extremely protective of your God ordained spouse. If you're in the spirit realm and you see something going wrong towards your God ordained spouse, especially those that y'all are spiritual intercessory warriors, you sense a Jezebel in your dream, you sense a counterfeit, you sense witchcraft going on. To my kingdom-minded fighting women, that when you're in your dreams, Deani Neves calls us demon slayers. It was somebody else that called us demon slayers too. That when you in your spirit realm, okay, and you're on your tirade, you sense something going on towards or around your God ordained spouse, you come in with every weapon you got to take that out, okay? Here's your flip side. The counterfeit, who sees you as a threat to the assignment that they are trying to take out over your God ordained spouse, is going to do exactly what Maul is doing. She becomes, remember how I told you in a previous episode of this Inception that I sensed somebody watching me in one of my dreams? She watches, then attacks. That's it. It's like, I watch, I attack. That's it. There's no in between with her. She saw Anastasia come into that room, and he immediately knows, knowing her and how she acts, especially in the dream realm, her level of anger and righteous indignant, well, not righteous, because she just has this spirit of Cain on her, that the second she see another female in his vicinity, attack. So she coming straight, just like when she attacked Anastasia the first time she came in the dream. Let me explain something to you. And I'm just coming to this realization right here. The Jezebel is always going to, whatever her witchcraft is, to try to hold your God ordained spouse away from you. She sees you as a threat. The Jezebel is always going to attack. She's going to attack. Physically attack. She spiritually comes at you with witchcraft, headaches, things going on around your head, sinus issues, headaches, visual manipulation, spiritually trying to get you to eat stuff so that she can gain more control over you. all this kind of stuff. She's trying to attack wherever she can hit to prevent you, because she sees you as a threat, because she knows that you have the ability to break her spell off that man. So every time she saw Anastasia, she tried to attack her. You have that power for your God ordained spouse. You have had the ability to shake him out of his spiritual connection with the witchcraft that was happening with the counterfeit. Because when you prayed for him, you disoriented her love spell, splitting spell, manipulation spell. Okay? So anytime she saw you in the spirit realm, she wanted to attack. And if at best she couldn't attack, she monitored. She watched what you did. Okay? So he runs and gets on the elevator with her and slams the door. He said, "What are you doing on here?" He's like, "What? This is what you've been doing." He's like, I got it under control. She's like, "No, you don't have it under control." Because she saw Maul looking like she was about to straight kill them. Shaking that elevator. And it's one of them old time elevators. Like from the 1950s that you use the gate to shut it. You know, like the metal wiry gate to shut. And then go up. You see it in them old buildings. Sometimes warehouses have these types of things. Kind of freight elevator-y type elevators. So she's angry and he's Anastasia's like, "This is not good." And instead of trying to wake them up, he just stays in the dream and he begins to explain. They go up to the top floor, where as they're going up to the top floor, you see a train going by on one of the floors, where you're outside and you're seeing a freight train go by. Then they get up to the top floor of the elevator and they're at the beach. And he explains at this point that he's keeping her alive in his dreams in order to, what does he say? I didn't write detailed notes, but he's been keeping her alive in his dreams in order to, he thinks he has a bit of control, but she's trying to tell him, you do not have control because you are connected to this woman. And because you're the number one person that says, don't create things in your dreams that you are attached to. He said, I know. That's why I told you not to do that. Then they go to another level where they're now back in the house, but it's a different point in time. And he explains that this moment, he's looking at his children outside. They never turn around. He says he thinks at times that he should call out to them just to see their faces again, because this was the moment in time in which he left. That was the last time he saw his children. Okay? They get ready to go. No, they don't get ready to. He's explaining to her and she runs and jumps back on the elevator before he can recognize, because he's too busy concentrating on looking at his children. Then she jumps back and she hits basement. When she hits basement, they end up in this demolished hotel room. Broken glasses, everything's torn up, everything's everywhere. And then she sees Maul sitting in the chair. She comes up and she steps on the glass. Maul turns around. She's like, "What are you doing here?" And she says, because she know that woman been trying to kill her the whole time. Anytime she recognizes something that ain't supposed to be there, she immediately goes DEFCON 3 mode. I'ma kill you. And especially her being a woman, she looking at her like, I have to move wisely with her. So she's asking, what are you doing here? She's like, she's like, I know where you're. And she she says something, but before she can get in depth into it, Leonardo DiCaprio's character comes down, I believe, and pulls her out. And before anything else can happen, I believe this is when they wake up. So she wakes up first and has to fiddle to get out of the thing, and he has no control over them all. And she now understands, hold up, you have no control over her. She can come in at any particular point in time because you have no control over her. And he needs to have a human anchor that can anchor him so that he has somebody that these memories are not dangerous to. Because otherwise, them going into any dream space with him puts that space in danger. Okay? They come in because now the young man's father has passed away, and they're like, we got to go now if we're going to get this, because he's about to take the flight. Okay? So they don't even get a chance to really dig into that conversation. And she just turns to him and says, you need to tell Arthur. Because she pretty much saying, he needs to know so he at least can be some form of an anchor to you. If you don't trust me, and they're like, ain't got time for it, we gotta go. He's been avoiding the situation. So they ready, they are prepped, they get dressed, they get ready to go. The next scene, you see the guy arrive at the airport to get on the plane. Of course, they messed it up so that he can't get his usual flight, and he has to board a plane with the 6 of them. And they act like, oh, we're just here. So they're getting themselves together, and as the actual target for this dream thing comes up, they have the thief, the forger, he bumps into the guy while he's taking his coat off. And when he does this, he manages to snag his passport from him. So when he snags his passport from him, he looks at it and then hands it off to Cobb. Cobb, who's sitting between the thief and the target, then takes the passport and said, oh, I'm sorry, I saw that you dropped this. I wanted to make sure that you got this back. So he's like, I'm sorry, my head's in a weird space because my father just died and blah, blah, blah. And they all get themselves together, and he starts to talk to him. The whole point of that was to be able to start conversation, because when the flight attendant comes up,